Ever feel like you're juggling a million things, trying to reach a goal, but struggling to stay on track? We've all been there. Today, we're going beyond just setting goals. You're diving into the world of controlling. We'll be using excerpts from an Insert Business Studies textbook to discover how to make those goals a reality. And don't worry, this isn't just corporate jargon. We're going to unearth how these principles apply to anything you want to achieve.
What's often overlooked is that controlling. Well, it isn't about being a dictator. It's about creating a system to help you navigate towards what you want to accomplish, like a personalized roadmap to success.
So it's not about micromanaging every tiny detail.
Not at all. It's more about taking a step back and asking, how can I design a system that supports me in reaching my goals? Think about it. We use GPS to navigate unfamiliar roads. Controlling helps you navigate towards any unfamiliar goal.
Okay, that makes sense. The textbook mentions achieving goals as a key benefit of controlling. But how does that actually work? We all set goals, but sticking to them is the hard part.
Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. Chaos, right? Controlling provides that blueprint for your goals, a framework to turn aspirations into action. It's about breaking down big goals into smaller steps and having checkpoints along the way to make sure you're on track.
So it's like creating a roadmap with milestones,
Yeah,
instead of just having a vague destination in mind.
exactly. And it's not just about achieving any goal. It's about using your resources wisely along the way. Think time, energy, even money. This ties into a contemporary concern, sustainability. Controlling helps you become more efficient, which also means minimizing waste, whether it's wasted hours or wasted materials.
That's a great point. It's like that saying, work smarter, not harder, here, but applying to all areas of life. The textbook also mentions the motivational boost that comes from a good control system. How does controlling actually keep you motivated?
When you have a clear plan, you can actually see your progress, each step forward, no matter how small. Reinforces your commitment and keeps you going. It's like getting a little dopamine hit every time you check something off your to-do list, but on a much larger scale.
Okay, this is all sounding pretty good so far, but I'm guessing no system is perfect. The source talks about limitations of controlling. Let's get real. What are we up against?
You're right. Controlling isn't a magic wand. It can't control the things we can't predict or influence, like the weather, the economy, or other people's decisions.
I guess trying to control those things would be like trying to herd cats. But what about those times when you do have some control? But people resist the system. I can see how even the best intentions could backfire if people feel micromanaged.
That's a great point. This highlights the need to balance monitoring progress with empowering people. It's not about stifling creativity. It's about providing the right amount of structure and support. Think of it like scaffolding on a building. It provides support during construction, but isn't meant to be permanent.
I like that analogy. So it's about creating a system that guides and supports, rather than restricts. But let's talk about the elephant in the room: cost. The textbook mentions that implementing a complex control system can get expensive. How do you weigh the benefits against the potential costs?
That's where cost-benefit analysis comes in. You need to ask yourself, will the potential gains in efficiency and goal achievement outweigh the investment required to implement this system? Sometimes a simple system is better than a complex one, especially when resources are limited.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider. Now let's dive into the actual process of controlling. The textbook provides a 5-step roadmap.
And as we go through each step, I want you to think about how this might apply to something you're working towards right now.
I love that. Okay, step 1 is setting performance standards.
Think of this as defining your finish line, but in a really specific way. If your goal was to learn to cook, that's great, but what does success actually look like?
So instead of a vague goal, it's about defining measurable outcomes, like being able to cook 5 different healthy meals without a recipe.
Exactly. Step 2 is measuring performance. How will you track your progress towards those specific standards? This could involve tracking numbers, like how many miles you run, or it could be more qualitative, like observing how your energy levels change.
So it's about choosing the right metrics to track, depending on the nature of the goal. Makes sense. Step 3 is comparing performance to standards.
This is where you get to see how your actions are aligning with your intentions. Are you on track, ahead of schedule, or falling behind? And more importantly, why?
That leads us to step 4, analyzing deviations. So not just noticing you're off course, but figuring out WHY.
Exactly. This is where the real problem solving happens. Are you off track because of external factors, a lack of resources, or maybe even a flaw in your initial plan?
And finally, step 5, taking corrective action. It sounds like this step brings everything together.
It does. Based on what you've learned, you adjust your approach. But remember, controlling isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of monitoring, evaluating, and adapting. Think of it as a feedback loop that helps you continuously improve.
That's a really important point. It's about being flexible and willing to adjust as you go. So we've got our 5 steps: setting standards, measuring performance,
Yeah.
comparing performance, analyzing deviations, and taking corrective action. But how does this all connect to planning? I mean, aren't they kind of separate things?
They're definitely connected. The textbook uses a great analogy. Planning is drawing the map, and controlling is making sure you don't end up lost in the woods.
That's a perfect way to put it. Planning sets the direction, and controlling keeps you on course. I'm curious, what are some specific techniques mentioned in the textbook for putting controlling into practice?
The textbook throws light on some really interesting techniques. It mentions budgeting, but not just in the financial sense. Think of it as allocating resources wisely.
Yeah. Budgeting usually makes me think of spreadsheets
Yeah.
and trying to make ends meet. Not exactly exciting stuff.
But imagine applying those same budgeting principles to something like your time. We all complain about not having enough time. How about creating a time budget for your day? Allocating specific blocks for different activities.
A time budget. That's a cool idea. Like scheduling in time for focused work, but also for breaks and things I enjoy.
Exactly. And just like a financial budget, you can track your actual time usage against your plan. This might reveal where you're wasting time or where you need to adjust your allocations.
It's like holding up a mirror to your day, helping you see how you actually spend your time versus how you intended to spend it.
Precisely. And this principle applies to other resources too, not just time. Ever heard of an energy budget?
An energy budget, like how many calories I'm burning.
That's one way to think about it. But it's more about consciously managing your energy levels throughout the day. Are you scheduling demanding tasks during your peak energy times? Are you allowing yourself downtime to recharge? It's about being strategic with your energy to maximize your productivity and well-being.
Okay, I'm really liking this expanded view of budgeting. The source also mentions ratio analysis. That sounds a bit more technical. What's the key takeaway there?
Ratio analysis is often used in a financial context, helping businesses analyze their performance. But think of it as a way to understand the relationship between different factors. Let's say you want to track your savings rate. You could compare how much you're saving each month to your overall income. This ratio can show you if you're making progress towards your financial goals.
So it's about using ratios to gain insights into different areas of your life, not just your finances. Could I use ratios to analyze my productivity? Like comparing the number of hours worked to the number of tasks completed.
Absolutely. That's a great example. Ratio analysis helps you spot trends and patterns, giving you a clearer picture of what's working and what's not.
Then there are management audits. What's the insight that stands out to you for our listener?
Management audits are often used by organizations to evaluate their processes, but think of it as a way to periodically step back and honestly evaluate how you're managing your own life. Are your daily habits aligned with your goals? Are your decision-making processes effective? It's about taking a critical look at your own management style.
So like a personal performance review. But instead of your boss doing it, you're taking ownership and being your own auditor.
Exactly. And just like a regular checkup can catch health problems early on, a self-audit can help you identify areas where you might need to adjust your approach.
The source also mentions PIRIT and CPM. I have to admit, those sound a bit intimidating. What are they really about?
PIRIT and CPM are project management tools, often used for complex projects. But think of it as a way to break down AMY overwhelming task into smaller, manageable steps. Let's say you want to write a book. It can feel daunting. Using these principles, you could outline the chapters, set deadlines for each section, and track your progress.
So it's like creating a detailed roadmap for any project, no matter the size, with checkpoints along the way to keep you on track.
Exactly. Those visual aids, like charts or timelines, can help you stay organized and motivated. It's like having a visual representation of your progress.
Okay, one last technique from the textbook is the Management Information System, or MIS. I have a feeling this has to do with technology. Is this just for big companies?
While MIS is often used in organizations to manage data, the core idea is applicable to everyone. Think about how you can use technology to streamline your own information flow and decision-making. Are you using apps to track your finances or your fitness goals? Those are simple forms of personal MIS.
I never thought of it that way. It's about using technology to gather data and insights that help you make better decisions. So even using a simple spreadsheet to track your expenses is a form of MIS.
Precisely. It's about leveraging the tools available to gain a clearer understanding of your own behavior and progress.
This deep dive has been an eye-opener. We've covered a range of control techniques, from simple budgeting to more complex systems like peer TCPM and MIS. I'm starting to see that controlling is more than just a dry business concept. It's a valuable life skill.
It absolutely is. But let's not forget that controlling is ultimately about people. It's about creating systems that support and empower individuals to do their best work.
So it's not just about numbers and metrics. It's about understanding the human factor. How does that play into creating an effective control system?
A good control system considers people's needs and motivations. It's about clear communication, regular feedback, and creating a culture of trust and accountability. Think of it like a well-functioning team. Everyone understands their role, they have the support they need, and they're all working towards a common goal.
It's about fostering a sense of ownership and shared responsibility, rather than just imposing rules from the top down.
That's right. A good leader understands that control isn't about micromanaging every detail. It's about creating an environment where people feel empowered to contribute their best work.
So we've got systems, we've got people, and we've got leadership. What else is important to keep in mind when designing and implementing a control system?
A crucial element is flexibility, a rigid plan. It won't hold up in the real world. Things change constantly.
That makes sense. Like even if you have the perfect budget, unexpected expenses pop up, or your priorities shift.
Exactly. A good control system needs to adapt. Just like you adapt to life's curveballs, it's not about being locked into a strict set of rules.
So it's more like having guiding principles that can evolve as you learn and grow. This reminds me of all the times I've set New Year's resolutions with the best intentions, only to fizzle out after a few weeks.
Maybe you're missing a good control system. It's not just about setting the goal, but about breaking it down into smaller steps and having a mechanism for tracking progress and making adjustments.
That's probably where I went wrong. I was too focused on the end goal and not enough on the process of getting there.
That's a common pitfall. Controlling helps you shift your focus from a vague outcome to a concrete set of actions.
This deep dive has given me a whole new perspective. It's like I've been given a set of tools to build my own personalized system for success.
That's exactly what we're aiming for. Remember, controlling is not about limiting yourself. It's about giving yourself the structure to achieve what you truly desire.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have one more question. The textbook mentions controlling as being goal-oriented. What happens if my goals change?
That's a great question, and it's bound to happen. Goals aren't set in stone. They evolve as we gain experience and learn more about ourselves.
So what happens to my control system if I realize I'm on the wrong path?
This is where flexibility becomes crucial. A good control system is adaptable, like a chameleon that can change its colors to blend in with its surroundings.
So it's not about being married to a plan. It's about having a framework that can grow with you. This actually makes me feel less anxious about setting big goals because I know that if things change, my system can change too.
Exactly. Controlling is about having the agency to shape your own journey, even as your destination evolves.
This has been an amazing deep dive. We've explored so much from textbook definitions to practical techniques and even those deeper insights about self-mastery.
And it all points to one key idea. Controlling is not something to be feared. It's a tool for empowerment.
I love that. So for our listener, the takeaway message is to embrace the power of controlling.
Absolutely. Don't shy away from it. It's not about being a control freak. It's about taking charge of your own life and creating the future you want.
I think it's time to bring this deep dive to a close. But before we do, I want to highlight one last thought. The textbook mentions controlling as a pervasive function, something all managers need to do.
That's true. It's essential for any organization to succeed.
But I think it goes beyond just management. Controlling is something we can all benefit from, whether we're leading a team, running a business, or simply navigating our own lives.
I completely agree. It's a life skill that can empower anyone.
So, to our listener out there, we encourage you to explore the power of controlling. It's not about restriction. It's about taking control of your own journey and creating a life that is truly fulfilling.
And remember, it's an ongoing process. It's about learning, adapting, and growing along the way.
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep controlling your way to success.
We'll be back with more deep dives to help you navigate other fascinating topics.